did I put this up yesterday? You guys saw some of this, right? So, first one, and then I got distracted. Okay. Yeah, so cars are cool, and we'll talk a little bit more about the assembly line later today. So I didn't talk about these medical advances. So, like a lot of diseases, guys, that led to lower life expectancy are brought under control. Typhoid fever, you may have heard of before. Diphtheria, if you contract diphtheria, basically your esophagus swells up, you can't swallow. So unless you can get IV fluids or something like that, which we're talking, early 20th century, you may not have the, access to the medical care you need, and there's a good chance you're going to die. The measles was started to be brought under control to some extent. The vaccine for the measles didn't come in until 1963. Anybody in here had the chicken pox? Okay. I used to have students that had the chicken pox. The measles is like chicken pox on steroids. Do you know what chicken pox looks like? You just get these sores on your body, right? Well, measles is like chicken pox on steroids. I had the measles when I was 5. Okay. So I was one of these statistics in 1972. I had one of the cases, the measles. And because you have so many sore, I still have scars on my body from the measles. And not a bunch, but just, a couple little spots. And your body's trying to fight that. And so you tend to get a fever. And so, the measles can kill. Today, we have a lot of folks that are worried about vaccinations when it comes, not the COVID vaccine, which isn't really a vaccine, right? You guys haven't had chicken pox because you got vaccinated, right? How many guys have been vaccinated for COVID and gotten COVID? Yeah, okay. It's not a vaccine. It's a therapeutic, okay? I don't know why they keep calling it a vaccine. It's not a vaccine, okay? Otherwise, it would prevent transmission. Yes? The flu shot is not a vaccine. It's the flu shot. Yes? Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. All right, let's clear that up, right? So, but some people feel like some of the vaccines that we're giving children are causing what? Oh, yeah, autism, okay? Guys, we have higher rates of autism than we've ever had. So I don't think there's been any studies that actually show a link between the two, but that doesn't stop people from, trying to figure out what it is. And we haven't. And you guys know anybody that's autistic? Yeah, so it's fairly common. I have a niece, Shannon. She's in her mid-30s, and she's very autistic. It's kind of interesting because a lot of people with autism have like a special gift. Okay, for my niece Shannon, it's birthdays. So if you ever meet her, she'll ask you what your birthday is, and then out of random, it's that day she knows everybody who has that birthday. She remembers. She never forgets. It's pretty amazing. But she'll never be independent. So there's different levels. And you guys have somebody that has a really interesting kind of talent, byproduct of autism that you know? Okay. Some people are musically gifted in other ways as well. So a lot of times dealing with numbers. So, yeah. So life expectancy, guys, is going to rise a lot. And this graphic here starts in 1860. The life expectancy in the United States was 42 years old. That would be long dead. This is actually, I think, you really have to factor in infant mortality here. Okay, so you just didn't have the medicine. So when you go in to have a baby in the hospital, there's all types of life-saving care available there, both the mother and the child. And so that's a big reason why life expectancy jumps. But also, bringing these diseases under control, people are working shorter hours, safer working conditions as we move through the century. And so life gets better. People actually have some leisure time and some discretionary income. And so we want to be entertained. I have this extra money, I have extra time. What am I going to do? Okay. Now, if you're a farm kid, it's like, there's always something to do, right? But if you're living in the city, you got some free time. Okay. Education, guys, the United States invested a lot of money into education, free school through high school, and then a very large college and university system that this country has. So in 1929, we spent more on education than the rest of the world combined. All right, a lot of money, and that pays off with all these advances in technology and business, the business world, and so forth. So this is a 1920s toaster. There's a little lever here you pull up, put your bread in there on both sides. It's got a heating element in there, and you can toast your bread. That's the early models. Those, okay. I've got some other pictures here on the next slide that deal with some of the other inventions that were mass produced. Here, this is we were talking about yesterday, the phonograph. Talked about phonograph yesterday. Record player, okay. So you wind this thing right here. You wind it too much, sometimes it goes too fast, and so it goes, or if it goes real slow, it drags. Most albums are called 33s, and you have smaller, which are records, or 45s, and just have 2 songs, one on each side. And the albums, you can have like 5 or 6 songs on one side. Turn it over and listen to the other one. Okay, so the early models of this, you could actually, the vinyl, it's called vinyl, you could record your voice on these. And so people for the first time heard their voices being recorded. Which if you guys have ever, set up a voicemail thing and then you listen to it and you're like, oh, that's how I sound, right? So it's kind of freaky, for people, this new technology. The movie theaters obviously was a big one, guys. Started with silent movies and then, added sound to the movies and then eventually color. And guys, in droves, we went to the movies. Droves. It cost you a nickel to go to the movies. Okay. And so, Hollywood just, it explodes. All kinds of westerns. People were seeing things in the theater that they'd only seen pictures of, like the beach. Like waves crashing across the beach. People have only seen pictures of that. Now they can actually see it. Like in motion. So, it was very attractive for people to go see these things. This life expectancy, this is a little dated. This is 1995, but things really haven't changed that much since 95. In fact, last year, I remember hearing about this, that life expectancy in the United States 2 years ago actually decreased by like 15 days. Okay, they keep track of this stuff. And a lot of that had to do with, the COVID deaths and so forth. But, we're at the bottom here. Why is that? Because our healthcare system sucks, or what's the number one killer in the United States? No. Heart disease, which obesity is a big cause of that. Our diet, guys, our diet. What do we eat? Do you guys eat fast food in the last week? Okay. Fried food, French fries, a lot of red meat, right? We don't eat very healthy. And so they bring salad for lunch today. But yeah, it's, our lifestyle in the United States, our cars, So number one killer is heart disease. Number two is cancer. Number three is automobile accidents. Okay, so in Europe, where they don't use as many cars, you're going to have fewer accidents. Okay, so and you know what else we like in the United States? We like guns. Okay, so gun violence is, opioid addiction. We like drugs. A lot of people die from that. Now, I just want to clarify this. Let's say overdoses, drug overdoses. What is actually happening right now is not drug overdoses. It's poisoning. Because the fentanyl is poison. So when people are taking these pills, they think they're taking something else. And in fact, they're being poisoned. Does that make sense? It's different than OD, which we have a problem with that too. This is actually poison. So, okay, this is a 1920s refrigerator. Okay, so we talked about fridges yesterday. We talked about refrigerators. What did we do before we had refrigerators? How did we keep stuff cold? Put it in the snow. Well, what if you live in Atlanta, Georgia? Who sells ice?
No, like the cellar.
Oh, you build a cellar. Where do you get the ice for the cellar if you live in hot Atlanta? The Iceman. Where's the Iceman get the ice? In the wintertime, the rivers and lakes in the north would freeze. So this was an industry. So people go in and cut out blocks of ice, okay, and then they put it on train cars and ship it to the South. You guys been in the South? What do they like to drink in the South? Tea. What kind of tea?
Sweet tea.
Sweet tea. They don't even serve unsweetened teas in the South. It's all sweet tea. Okay. You heard of Southern hospitality. So you're living in hot Atlanta, Georgia, in 1900, before refrigerators, and you want to have company over and entertain them, and you want to serve iced tea. So you dig a hole in your backyard called a cellar. You guys know how it's cooler in the basement in your house than it is, And so it helps insulate. The wintertime, people buy ice, put it in their cellar. Now, what can you put on top of your ice to insulate it? Sawdust. Okay, not salt. Salt melts ice. You do that on your driveway. Okay, yeah, sawdust. So, you want to serve iced tea? You go down to your cellar. Hopefully, it's nice. You've got a floor, and if it's dirt, you probably have mud because there's going to be some melt. Okay. And you take your ice pick and you take a chip off the old block of ice, right? That's where you've heard that term before? That's where that comes from. And you're probably going to serve sweet tea, iced tea, with some sawdust in it. It was pretty common, okay? There's a nutritional value to sawdust. If you're ever starving to death and you're in the wilderness, okay, and there's no food, you can eat sawdust. It's a little rough on the gut, but it may keep you alive for a couple of days till maybe somebody finds you if you're naked and afraid. Okay. Dude, I've actually seen one of these refrigerators. I was in West Virginia about 10 years ago visiting my in-laws that used to live there. Went over to one of their friends' house, went in the basement. She had a refrigerator that looked almost exactly like this. The top unit was a little bit different. I think it was square. And I'm like, whoa, that's cool. I teach about this. I have a picture of that in my notes. And I said, can I look at it? So I opened it up, and it was still working. She said it was refurbished during World War II. It's been working ever since. They don't make them like they used to. Okay? I mean, the fridge, how long does it take when you buy a new refrigerator for the ice maker? They don't make it. Now, that didn't have an ice maker, but it keep your food cold. The filters. I hate those filters. Okay. So, like I said, people have money. They have time. And people want to have a good time. So, you have speakeasies, right? These are the illegal bars. Now, how does the owner of a speakeasy prevent somebody coming in that's a cop, that's a federal agent. It's going to shut them down. Guys, in a lot of places, what they did is you had to be a member. They started clubs. So in order to come to the speakeasy, you had to be a member. So you show your membership card or no secret handshake or secret code to get in. Okay. Have any of you guys heard of here in Wichita called the Campbell Club? You guys heard of this? It's a private club at 13th and Woodlawn. There's a shopping center. It's in there. Okay. So in order to go eat there or hang out there, you got to join the club. I don't know how much it is a month. I think it's like $50 a month. Then you go in there and it's expensive because the food is really good. I'm not a member of the club, but you can bring a guest. And so my wife knew one of her former bosses. They were members of the Camel Club. And so we went in there about a month ago. This is my first time. I mean, it's been around since the 1950s, the Camel Club. Okay, like, it's kind of cool. They had live music, really good food, had a bar. It's pretty cool. Okay, so that's how they kept, getting the right clientele in, and not, the authorities. Okay, these women, short skirts, short hair, bobbed hair, they call it flappers. Heard of this before, probably? Okay. I forgot to read this to you. The other day I was talking about Sacco and Vanzetti, and I used our old textbook for that. And they do a really good introduction to kind of this roaring 20s idea. Let me read this to you. It's just a couple of paragraphs. You ready? Okay. In the 1920s, the sounds of radios and phonographs began to fill the air. For the first time, motion pictures opened up fantastic vistas for the millions. Americans started their love affair with the automobile. Women's skirts, which had once been thought dangerously high when they revealed a glimpse of the ankle, now suddenly shot up to the knee. Long hair had been called a woman's crowning glory. Now respectable women cut their hair in a boyish bob and actually wore lipstick. Some women even smoked cigarettes in public. Wow. At the same time, there were still many old-fashioned Americans. They were shocked by what they saw. Women, they said, ought to be put on a pedestal. But they had neither the freedom nor the temptations of the rest of the human race. In this and many other ways, the 20s was an age of conflict, confusion, excitement, and experiment. Never was the nation more American. This was still the new world where people might try anything, at least once. Okay? Now, you guys watched that video of the 1920s last Friday. And I don't know if they showed any, like, some of the stunt stuff people were doing, like wing walkers. These biplanes that are flying and people are out walking on the wings in the air. Okay? All kinds of different stunt stuff that people were trying out. Obviously, people were looking to have a good time. The music was good. The entertainment was good. And so you really see things like, you go to a speakeasy, there's going to be, they're going to have a jazz band called a brass. Okay. The blues became really big. Some of you guys have done the homework assignment. So talk about things like the Harlem Renaissance, Duke Ellington, these different musicians that start producing records. And people buy them and they listen to them. So, if you talk to artists today or, classic rock music, what's R&B, hip hop, classic rock, Southern rock, they're all influenced by this music of the 1920s. I'm a big fan of classic rock. I really like Led Zeppelin. Led Zeppelin just oozes the blues, man. It's so good. Bands like, I don't know if you guys ever heard of the Black Crowes, Southern rock, got the blues influence in it. It's really good. It's got a lot of soul to it. And so we get a lot of that from our African American community. That dates back to old gospel music, Negro gospel, or, the slaves, they would sing songs and, go to church. So huge influence there. And then sports, guys. You see them just these take off, okay? So like boxing, this is Jack Dempsey, okay, one of the greats. Former he fights Gene Tunney, former U.S. Marine, losing on points in 10 rounds in front of 120,000 people. That's a huge crowd. Okay, Intrust holds 12,000 people? Something like Intrust Bank Arena? Okay, if you had the whole floor filled, maybe 13,000, something like that. 120,000 people. Golf became a huge sport. Okay, huge crowd. You still have huge crowds at golf tournaments. I mean, they have to turn people away. A couple really good movies. Any of you guys ever see this movie, The Greatest Game Ever Played? It's a golf movie. There's another one called The Legend of Bagger Vance that Will Smith plays in. Really good movies. Boxing movies. Any of you guys seen Cinderella Man? Oh, that's a fantastic movie. Yeah, so you kind of get to see what boxing was like in the 20s. And then, of course, the American pastime was baseball, right? Now, if you look today at viewership for sports, the NFL has taken over as kind of like the most watched sport in America. College football really got started here, as a big time sport. And the most popular person wasn't a player, it was a coach. Notre Dame. What was his name? You guys ever seen the movie Rudy? Seen Rudy? Dude hasn't seen Rudy.
That's crazy.
See, you haven't seen Rudy? Rudy? So good, isn't it? It's a good movie. Dude, it's about a Notre Dame football player. Rudy Rudiger. Okay? It's based on a true story. Okay? The kid grows up in Indiana. Coal mining family. Indianers. There were some coal mining family. They're Catholic. The kid wants to go play football at Notre Dame. He's like 5 foot nothing, weighs nothing. Okay, he's not even that good. He really struggles at school, so academically, he's not getting into Notre Dame. He's not near a good enough athlete to play at Notre Dame. Okay, but that's his dream, and he achieves that dream, and that's what the movie's about. Okay, and it's freaking fantastic, based on a true story. Gets on the field one time, senior year. Put in all that just to go through that tunnel, play football at Notre Dame. Proved everybody wrong. His father, his home family, everything. Right? Great. Anyhow, in the movie, he recreates the speech by Newt Rockne. We're going inside. We're going outside. Remember that? He's in the locker room. Okay. Newt Rockne died in a plane crash. When you go up on 135, there's there's the rest areas in the middle where they have McDonald's or Hardee's, the gas station there. It's called Matfield Green. There's a big display in there about Newt Rockne. He died in a plane crash not far from there. He was the most famous coach in America. Okay, he's the head coach of Notre Dame football. Okay, he's a legend. Yeah, so college football and then baseball, guys. They didn't used to have lights at the stadiums, so people would go. Games would start at 3:30, so people are coming straight from work to the games. And you guys ever been to a Royals game? In the summertime, it's hot. These people are showing up in suits. Women are wearing dresses and stuff like that. Now, dresses can be kind of cooler, but then, a suit. You can go to a Royals game in t-shirt and shorts. I mean, you can't avoid the swamp ass. I mean, it's going to happen. Right? So, anyhow, games would hopefully be over by 6, 7 o'clock. The average Major League Baseball game this year is 3 hours and 3 minutes. Okay? So they're talking about putting that clock in. And the minors had shaved off 20 minutes a game, having the clock. Okay? There's some other things they're trying to do to speed up the game. I don't like it. Okay? There's no clock in baseball. Every other sport has a clock. Right? Golf doesn't have a clock, I guess. Bowling. All right, maybe it's not the only. All right, so anyhow, this is Babe Ruth, right? The Sultan Swat, Colossus of Clout, the Great Bambino, the Babe. Everybody's heard Babe Ruth, right? He's the most famous player ever, and one of the most famous athletes ever in U.S. history. And it's kind of hard to call him an athlete. He was a big, heavy guy. Okay, he started as a pitcher with the Red Sox, but he could hit too. The Yankees bought his contract. Called that the curse of the Bambino. So after the Red Sox sold off Babe Ruth to the Yankees, Red Sox did not win a World Series for 100 years. They called it the curse. They finally broke the curse in 2004. Okay, and then they won again and again. Okay, Red Sox had some good years there. And that was the year I went to Fenway Park. It was 2004, my first time going to Boston. Okay. It's great, fantastic. Okay. That was also the last year of the house that Ruth built, which was Yankee Stadium, the original Yankee Stadium. They tore that down in 2004 was the last year, and they built a new Yankee Stadium, a house that Jeter built, or something like that. Okay. But guys, this might have been the best team ever assembled. Okay, 1927 Yankees. I don't know, that Dodgers team this year right now is really freaking good. They're already at 90 wins. They may win 110 games. So we'll see. And the most famous person on the planet in 1927 and 28 was this man, Charles Lindbergh. Okay, so let me ask you this. So you go any corner of the earth today, in Africa, Asia, Canada, South America, besides people named Jesus and Muhammad, who's like the most famous person that the most people know in 2022? That's a pretty good one. What about LeBron James? Or Messi? You know who Messi is? You know who Messi is? Yeah. Ronaldo, Messi. Okay, that's, You know who LeBron James is? I'm just checking because some people don't. You got, so like in 1990, that would have been Michael Jordan. I mean, Michael Jordan was a household name globally. Okay. Before that, in the late 80s, Michael Jackson, Thriller. Okay, most famous person on the planet. Yeah, maybe a soccer player. How about Donald Trump? I think Donald Trump's probably about as known as anybody. Yeah, I think it's probably Trump. Okay. Or the Pope. Yeah, you kind of take out religious leaders here.
Maybe the Queen.
Yeah, I mean, the Queen for sure. There's going to be a lot of talk about that over the next 12 days or something, as long as this whole show goes on. Man, I'll tell you what, Twitter is a nasty place. You see some of the comments people are making? I don't know. I don't really find joy in people's deaths. You know what I mean? There are people that extremely dislike, but I don't wish ill. It's a nasty place out there. When people can sit behind a computer screen and not have to pay any consequences for what they say, you know what I mean? So my rule of thumb, maybe you could use this too. If I'm not willing to say it to somebody's face, then I'm not going to write it online. Now, I used to be pretty bad. I'd get in some nasty conversations with people on Facebook, Twitter. Now, Facebook, I do nothing political. I'm done with it. No more politics on Facebook. I got too many friends, and I don't want to, I'm just not going to, it goes into a rabbit hole. Twitter is a different story. I'll engage people there. Anyhow, what are we talking about? Lindbergh. Let's talk about Lindbergh some more. Lindbergh, guys, he gets back from Paris. First of all, guys, 33 and a half hours. Now, any guys had a long plane ride before, like been on a long flight? I had a few students who haven't flown before. Has everybody flown in here? You've never flown? Yeah, that's okay. It's interesting, though. Have you ever left the county? Okay. I'm just kidding. Listen, I flew from Hong Kong to Chicago, straight across the Pacific, in 2005. Lily was 11 months old. So we had a baby on board for 13 hours. Okay. Brutal. Anything like over 5 hours on a plane. Brutal. Because the seats are small, right? God, it's awful. Somebody like you flying is not fun. You just don't have leg room, So anyhow, 33 and a half hours, guys. You've stayed up 24 hours before, right? There's no autopilot. And guys, there's not even a windshield. In order to look, you've seen this plane, some of you, in the Smithsonian. Okay, it's in the Air and Space Museum. And you got to look out the side window to look out the front of the plane. Okay? How did he do that? And guys, you're flying, a lot of this is at night over the Atlantic. You're not flying at 30,000 feet in a pressurized cabin here. Okay? It's an open air cockpit at low altitude at night over nothing but ocean. Lindbergh was not the first to try this. Those that tried it before him were never heard from again. You understand? Lost forever. Okay? He did it. I mean, it's a huge feat. Now, he marries a famous, the daughter of a U.S. ambassador to Mexico, and they're like this power couple. You know what I mean? What are those two people? That one chick and that royal family dude, Merkel, and what's her name? Meghan Markle and Harry, right? I don't know. Angelina and Brad, power couple. Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt, right? It's power couple, right? They have a baby. Lindberghs have a baby. What happened to the baby? Oh, you guys don't know about the Lindbergh baby? Okay, so they had this nice house. Somebody put a ladder up against their house and kidnapped their baby for ransom. They never got the baby back. The baby died in possession of whoever took it. Okay. So that was a huge story. It's a Lindbergh baby. Now, Lindbergh, obviously an aviation pioneer, was really enthralled by the German Air Force. So as Hitler took over, under the Treaty of Versailles, guys, Germany was not allowed to even have an Air Force. Okay, but eventually they did it anyways under Hitler. It was the German Air Force is called the Luftwaffe. Okay, and they're building some really advanced aircraft, and Lindbergh is very interested in that. In fact, he becomes quite the friend to the German Air Force. So much so that this is going to cause a lot of people to really dislike Lindbergh. Even while Britain was under attack by the Nazis. Lindbergh was still a supporter of Germany. Okay, he was on the wrong side. Okay, and so his name is mud to a lot of people. Okay, like they don't like him. I don't like him. Okay, but what he did was pretty amazing. Okay, New York to Paris, 33 and a half hours. Ticker tape parade in New York City. For him. I mean, it's like a huge celebration. All right. Now, who's this? Henry Ford, okay? Oops, sorry. Yeah, the roar of the factory here, guys. So you learned about, last year, you learned about interchangeable parts, right? Now add interchangeable parts to the assembly line. So this is the assembly line at Ford Motor Company in Detroit. And so, guys, I don't know if any of you are thinking about like mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, or industrial engineering. I get you on film.
No, I don't want to be on film. I don't know Ray impression. Have they seen Norma Ray?
No, I have not seen Norma Ray.
Yeah, maybe you should watch it.
Thank you, Mrs. Fox.
Why are there only boys in here? Well, what's this?
What's what?
Oh, is this the whole class?
Well, we have one missing, right? Yeah, we have 5 girls.
Well,
and
we
6
have
boys.
English too. They're on top of each other in there.
This is honor sister.
That's why we need this.
Gotcha.
I'm being taken advantage of.
Yes, you are.
I just
So, efficiency, guys. You're talking about engineering, right? Like building a factory that has very little waste. The more efficient you are, the more money you make. Okay, so I don't know if you remember studying this guy last year, but Frederick W. Taylor writes the Principles of Scientific Management. Okay. Now, these factories were originally powered by coal, and so you have a coal furnace, and so a more efficient way to shovel coal into the furnace. It's going to save you time. It's going to save you money. Okay, these sorts of things. Today, we have automated factories, robots to help workers, and so forth. So we continue this scientific management. You can find a job trying to make a better factory right now, right? Making businesses more efficient. Now, the assembly line is going to change how long it takes to assemble a car. So the Model T used to take 14 hours to assemble. They got that down to 93 minutes to build a car. Now, with all the innovation we have today, can we beat that 93 minutes? Heck no. Guys, your cars are like driving computers, right? All the electronics that are in our cars, that takes a little bit longer to build. Did you guys actually drive a car that you actually have to roll up the window? Like roll up the window? Isn't it funny how we still say roll up the window? You're not actually rolling. Do you guys still use roll? I mean, you guys are young. You say roll up the window? Yeah. You got that from your parents. Because they used to have to roll up the window.
Well, what else would you say?
Put up the window. I don't know. Hit the switch to put up the window. Close the window. Open the window. I like roll down. Yeah, roll up. Yeah, for sure. Guys, one car rolling off the assembly line every 10 seconds in 1925. Mass production. Not just of automobiles, but all these other things, okay? So now you're producing all this stuff. Now you got to sell it, okay? Now, advertising had been around, but it's going to boom, okay? Advertising is going to go from a $1 billion industry to a $3 billion industry. Now, today advertising is much more directed at the individual, okay? So I started an experiment this morning in 0 hour, okay? Today I'm going to be talking about trampolines. I'm thinking now that my kids are moving out of the house and they're older about getting a trampoline for my backyard, for my pleasure, for exercise. See, what I'm doing is my phone is not on, it's asleep, but I'm saying the word trampoline a lot and buying a trampoline. I'm going to see if later today I start to see some advertisements, like whether they can actually hear me, the phone off like this. Okay, or somewhere it's picking this up, trampoline idea up, right? So like if you Google search something, right, today, it's going to show up in advertising on other platforms, yes? And that's how people make money, okay? Figuring how to do that. So I'll report back to you tomorrow or Monday, see if I start seeing any trampoline advertising. That would be weird, like, I don't know if it'll work or not. Have you heard that though? Like, yeah, so let's see. But yeah, I mean, the typical type of advertising, now newspapers are going by the wayside now. Magazines, you don't see them as much. Billboards, obviously still around, direct mail, which you get in the mail, can be very effective, especially like with coupons. You have a lot of people that like to, save a few cents here and there. Radio advertising can be a lot of fun. So you get a little jingle, a song. Some of them are awful. Like there's this one ad that keeps coming on, cars for kids. Like you sell your car or give the car away, like you're not gonna use it, and they use that to make money for kids. I don't know. It's called cars for kids. It's awful jingle. You know some of these jingles, right? You get in your head. Okay. Now, obviously, television advertising is a whole nother thing. Guys, with advertising, a lot of times what we see is they're trying to sell you something in addition to that. So Mercedes is selling more than a car. Mercedes is selling status, beauty, comfort, yes? What about mouthwash? Like advertising for mouthwash. Guys, they want everybody to think they have bad breath. So they're selling you health and beauty. Because when you take their mouthwash, you're going to have this beautiful smile. You're going to be really pretty. Okay? Sex sells, right? Think of some of these awful perfume commercials. Like they just have this beautiful human being or two beautiful human beings. They don't even say anything, then they show you the bottle. You know what I mean? It's like, it's awful. Buy now, pay later, guys. This is the American way. Credit. Okay? You see, by 1928, $1 billion is owed on vehicles. Now, guys, this is the third cause of the Depression. Tariffs, war debts, production outpacing wages. And I'll start with that. And the stock market crash. A lot of economics on Monday. So get your rest. Be ready. Have a good weekend.